What's up, everybody? I am going to outline some of the directions I want to take this channel, and I am going to be walking you through a quick overview of all the projects I have on my list currently. I'm a machinist by trade, and I've done a lot of engineering and design work for companies that support the industrial side of machinery. The primary focus of this year will be one of my larger car projects, a lot of fabrication, a lot of machining, a lot of welding, but on a larger scale and not just utilizing what's there. I'll be exploring a lot of design ideas and utilizing YouTube, the forums, some of Facebook for ideas to build a car the way I want to build a car, or to at least perform the way I want it to perform and manufacture it readily. I have at my disposal SolidWorks, Mastercam, um, a slew of free video editors, photo manipulation, and I finally got a decent mic set up to where I can produce the quality content that I wanted to produce. Working off of an old Turtle Beach streaming mic wasn't quite doing it for me, and I had done narrations in the past of technical documents for other companies. So I wanted to move forward and post this video to see really where I could get it to go. I'm going to keep it fairly concise and short, and by the end of the week, I should have 2 or 3 other videos up outlining the bigger projects and where they're at. The first project is the Delsol tube frame, and it is a mid-engine car that has already been mid-engine swapped, but it uses the factory sheet metal to tie it in, and I can't say that it's as rigid as it should be. So this came along, we could fabricate it better, I could do more. I have access to CNC mills, CNC lathes that I program every day at work, but also a full CNC tube bender on an industrial scale, so I could accurately reproduce any of the parts after I get them designed, fitted, and I could reproduce this accurately in another chassis with minimal modification. This is in-depth note-taking and planning at this moment. I have drop task that has an organized list of everything that I need to do and the order that I need to do it in, but this is my organized note-taking. With the with all of the fabrication that's involved, gearing up for tooling, I've had to build a chassis table that is in the works right now. I have everything for it. I have the welder. I have actually a pretty nice Hobart 180. I have giant I-beams that we're building a base off of, and I'll say we constantly, but it's just me at the moment, and that way I can fixture the chassis well. This is the tube frame in its essence. This is how I take notes. This is how I kind of organize ideas, and I make changes to it as needed. With the SolidWorks side of it, it's really straightforward. It's just 3D note taking. There are some very specific dimensions like the wheelbase and the subframe mounting point locations that I kind of grabbed and pulled from resources inside the factory service manual for the Del Sol, for the Honda Civic, for the Acura Integra, since they are all fairly interchangeable for those 3 chassis on a specific generation. But this is a very, very in-depth, large-scale project for me. So I'll be documenting that and moving forward with other ideas that I want, and I'll carry over into other projects that I want to finish up and start as well. The go-kart is pretty much welded up. It's had a motor in it. It's had driveline on it. It's had chassis. It is a It's just that it's a mid-engine go-kart that uses a Civic platform, and it I spent a good many years working on this, and I've probably had the chassis for about 5 years now, and I want to see it work better. I want to see it work well, and it will be the first one on the frame table to get some more fabrication added to it. I already have parts laser cut. I want to move through really readily on this one to get it on the table, get the table squared up, get everything finished to where I can put the Del Sol on there and leave it on there for 3 months while I'm fabbing everything up, getting material bent, machining, manufacturing pretty much anything and everything I need. But this will be the test bench for the chassis table. The EM2 guide that I have here in front of me is a love child that I worked on for the 7th Gen Civic community, and it's fairly well rounded. A lot of input from the users. I drive a 7th Gen Civic that is already K swapped, and it is a great place to start with these types of projects. Just pulling a factory motor out and putting something completely different in with very little insight is difficult. But with this, there was an older X Productions guide that we utilized for a long time, and I finally decided to revamp it and add in K-Series identification for everything from engines, heads, intake manifolds, exhaust manifolds, transmissions. The guides were put together, the identification guide and the EM2 K Swap guide were put together. I've separated them since then, and I need to revamp that a little bit and add some in for the wiring to add the hybrid. As you saw in the very first cover, it excludes the Honda Civic Si and hybrid. The Si comes K swapped already. The Civic hybrid is a little bit of a unique case. It's slightly different in the engine compartment, but it is an ongoing project. I'm going to go through and narrate and branch off with some of the ideas that I've seen over the past and how I've dealt with a lot of the problems and issues that I've seen that's reoccurring. The primary goal of this was just to make an all-inclusive guide to help anybody walk through and solve a lot of the major problems and help ease some of the fear of electrical, any of the component orientation, interchangeability, especially. Identification was the bigger part, because I did have that problem when I first started playing with these cars, identifying different manifolds, identifying what would work best. The factory service manuals I want to go through and somewhat narrate and show everybody where they have their place and how you can apply them to factory components, troubleshoot, diagnose. It's been a larger question of what major issues everybody has and what they use for a solution. And a lot of times it's searching through forums where they haven't been updated for 10 years. So what do? We resort back to the holy text, I'll call it, but or the sacred text. This is an end-all be-all for factory components. Once you start mixing and matching, of course, you have to use your skill set a little bit better, but this is an ongoing project that I've tried to work through and documenting what sections work where, how to find it, easy solutions, and hopefully I can catalog this a little bit better on YouTube and get through most of this manual. The next generation, the 7th generation will come later, but the 5th generation of Honda Civic I'll kind of cling to, just because that's been what I've lived with for so long and what I thoroughly enjoy. Other than that, this is a large list of the projects. The only one that is not directly outlined, and it's been in the back of my mind for so long, is the pit box listed in my personal. It is very, very early in its stages, and I'm still trying to figure out a lot of what I want to do, but I'll be making the full frame. I'll make it to where it's lockable, to where it's sizable. The bigger part is getting a computer in a shop environment and keeping it locked up, protected from the environment, and getting something that's presentable. And I'll probably end up putting car components on it to move it, like wheel hubs off of the Honda Fit. I love that idea. I can reuse wheels then and have them cheaply available and be able to pull components off, put them around, and store them easily and have good replacements for them. So this is in its very, very early stages, even though I've wanted it for more than a decade now, just because of the size of the toolbox. But I hope this outlines all of the projects that I want to work on, and I hope that I can bring a quality to the community of the fabricators, of the machinists, of the guys that spend their time reverse engineering, designing, and I hope that it genuinely helps everybody out there.